Joining us now, he's the head coach of the Ragin Cajuns over there at Louisiana. Of course, our good friend Gerry Glasco back with us here on In the Circle. Coach, how you doing?
Doing great.
Well, you've been a busy guy. You're obviously coaching the program, and I wanted to start off first with your summer because you kept yourself busy in the summer. You got to coach this past summer at the WPF, their first year there, and you coached the Vipers. What was that like for you to get back in coaching the pros? Not the first time you've done it. But what was it like for you to be back coaching the pros?
It was fun. I always enjoy that. That's actually my fourth summer of doing it. I did it in 2014, took a break, come back in 2017, come back in 2019. So I did it three times when we competed for the championship. The only difference last summer is just exhibition schedule with us and the Pride, because I think it was important to go out and show people that there was two teams. It's really hard to get a league. A league is, to me, four or more teams, and I think it was really important and a huge factor that Smashing Sports sponsored the Vipers and went ahead and put that team out there on an exhibition schedule against the Pride, sponsored by USSSA. And that, I think, was the tipping point where now they're able to add a team out of Oklahoma City and a team out of Dallas. And so the future of the WPF looked really bright, and there's a huge amount of excitement in the background because they're actually talking to a fifth and sixth team. One of them is a Canadian team, and there's a lot of interest in the league from a lot of different areas. So it's exciting for our sport.
Yeah, no doubt, and certainly Lauren Chamberlain has a good vision for it, and kind of building it the right way, and for it to be long standing. What is it about the pro game that you have that you've got clearly a passion for it? What is it about the pro game that brings that passion out of you?
Well, I like to think that our girls that compete from the time they're 6, 7 years old in t-ball up through the 18 gold levels and PGF and Alliance, and they put their whole career into getting a college scholarship. And you'd like to think the elite players in our sport, when they leave college, they just have a place to go and compete. And then likewise for fans, I think our fans deserve to see, kids like Amanda Lorenz and Sydney Romero and Sierra Romero, those great players. You don't want to just put them on a shelf and they're gone. You want them to have that opportunity to go ahead and compete at the professional level at the older age group. And we've seen that they continue to get better, like the Kelly Kretzman and Kat Osterman and Monica Abbott and all these great players, Megan Willis. They got Megan, and I could go on and on. Megan Wiggins. They just get better and better up into the 30s, and just like baseball players do. And so we actually never see the peak of a athlete's. We never see their peak capabilities through college. We have to go on into the professional ranks and let them mature completely, and then we see the best they can possibly be at that point. And so that's enjoyable and fun. And I like to think that all of our young women in the future are going to have that opportunity.
When let's talk about your team. Last year, another 40-win season, regional final, and win a Sun Belt championship. When you reflect on last year, what comes to your mind?
Just an enormous amount of young talent. I think the one thing we were really young. We played seven freshmen. We had seven freshmen that started at least 20 games, and I think that was on offense. Plus, Sam Landry was 23 as a freshman, pitching in the circle. And then our two leading hitters were sophomores in Sophie Piscos and Jordan Campbell. Both hit right close to a 385, 390 level. Enormous amount of youth, but enormously talented young players. And so they were able to, I think our record was 47-13 last year. We were able to win the Sun Belt. We won the regular season. We won the conference tournament. And so when you look at all those kids coming back, and then our freshman class this year is really, really good. It's super excited about our freshmen. We just finished up our annual hitting contest, and it's the best freshman hitting class we've had in the last 4 years. I mean, the numbers they put up this fall in over 1,000 swings in our hitting contest blew away last year's performance numbers. And when you look at all those kids going on to hit 300, really excited about the future of our program right now.
Yeah, 47 wins, as you mentioned. The regional final, against Clemson in the Clemson regional, that was a different experience. And you mentioned it. You were a young team last year. I remember when we spoke last year. You said we're pretty young. We're still got a lot of things we got to learn. What did you learn about that young group? How are you able to accomplish so much with the youth? Because now you got a lot of them back, which is the big benefit this year.
Yeah, I love to coach young kids. You know, my background goes back to junior high and travel ball and high school coaching. And I've always enjoyed developing young players and working with young hitters. And to survive here and stay in the top 25, we had to go to the transfer portal in the 2018, 2019, 2020 seasons. But you know, last year was a new opportunity for us in 2022 to develop our own freshman kids and really develop a program that can stay solid and consistent over the next 3 or 4 years. So it was just an exciting year for us. I think we got a lot done. We wanted more at the end. We had a bad break when we lost Landry, our the pitcher that kind of led us in wins, and a huge part of our bullpen, along with Megan Shorman and Kendra Lamb. We lost her with COVID, and then we lost our leading home run hitter, and our 3-hole hitter in Alexa Langler for COVID in the regional. And Clemson was playing so well there on their field. The fans at Clemson, by the way, are that's just a killer place to play. It's the classiest fans and really one of the most um, enjoyable softball environments I've ever been in. They were phenomenal, and they were playing. They were playing so well, Tom. I'm not sure it would have mattered, but we were a little bit shorthanded, and we like to think that this year was a year of maturity and that hunger to get in there and compete. I, I, I want to believe we can really make that hurdle and get over the regional this year.
Offensively, it was a historic year, hitting 351 as a team, one of the program's best, 82 home runs as a team. What was it about your offense last year that just clicked, considering the youth, and now you got a lot of those offensive players back, plus some new faces, as you mentioned, your freshman class, among others. Just talk about your offense there, because it clicked on last year, and I would have high expectations this year.
Yeah, well, we played a little softer schedule last year than we normally would because we had some scheduling challenges, but then we had so many freshmen. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't want to overload them early in the season. Of course, we had to play our hard games in preseason. Our Sun Belt Conference games are what we got. We can't control them, but our out of conference schedule, which mainly takes place in February and preseason in March, pre-conference season. It's just not a smart move to take a bunch of freshmen like we had last year and then brutally schedule them. So I made the schedule uh, favorable for a young freshman class, and we still had Texas twice or 3 times and LSU twice, and we had some good teams on the schedule. But that helped. That definitely helped our batting average to hit 351 when we didn't have as many of those brutal games as. And so, like this year, I've got 19 Power Five games in our non-conference schedule. It's going to be a really fun year for us. I'm super excited about the schedule that we put together. But that had a little factor, and I want to acknowledge that. I'm very conscious about and aware of what goes into batting average. But these kids can really hit, and they were phenomenal down the stretch. They actually the home run numbers went up throughout the season, got better and better and better as they developed confidence in themselves. And they finished second in the country in batting average to Oklahoma, and they're aware of that. I tell the kids that all the time. I want them to have swagger. I want them to have confidence, and we work really hard. I think we probably hit more than almost any team in the country. We take a huge amount of swings. They work really hard for the results, and I want them to take pride in that, and also to be aware that if you work hard, you deserve success, and you usually will find success if you have talent. And they are a very talented young bunch of team players.
So, who are your leaders you depend on the offensive end? Who are some of the players you lean on, not only from a production standpoint, but also from a leadership standpoint?
That's what's really good about our team. We have a lot. I mean, it's really balanced. And of course, Sophie Piscos is a junior this year and a fireball. And she batted I think 380. And Jordan Campbell is a junior this year, hit 390, I believe. Those two are on paper on average and RBIs critical. Of course, freshman Alexa Langlaers, she missed a lot of games because she had a concussion that kept her out 3 weeks, and then she missed the regional with COVID. but she still had 13 home runs and only 100, I think, 113 at bats, and then had a lot of RBIs. She comes from, her dad played college ball at Oregon State. Her brother played at Baylor, was a first round draft choice, number 9 overall in baseball. So it's a baseball. He's up in the major leagues now. He just got called up to Oakland A's, rookie this summer. So Alexa has a really good pedigree on the diamond sports, and the confidence and swagger that goes along with that. She'll be a sophomore this year. Those kids are really nice players. Stormy Kotzelnick's a kid that batted 370 or 360 and can hit a home run anytime she walks the park. Tremendous base runner as well. I think she stole 22 bases out of 23. Maddie Hayden hit over 400 all year, dropped down, and finished her freshman year hitting around 370. Kayla Falterman, freshman, hit 410, 414. There's a lot of talent. Kramer Ushday was 370, a freshman. You got Taylor Romans hit 340 and just having a monster fall. I've got 7 hitters this fall in our air squad over 400. So we have a chance to be really good. Our leading home run hitter this fall was Kylie Griffin, a freshman. Number 12 player in top 100, and then our leading batting average. I've never had anyone hit over 500 in the fall, except for Alyssa Dalton and Maya Davis come in and hit almost 570 this fall, and we expected that. Like, she was I think one of the top recruits in the state of Texas, and number 11 overall in the top 100 by extra inning softball. Maya Davis is an extremely talented player, and she's just been phenomenal this fall. So I think we're going to have balance up and down the lineup. I think we're going to have 13, 14 players that are capable of playing for us and hitting over 300.
Is this the most athletic team you've had? I mean, we speak of the power you have in the lineup with 82 homers. What's not brought up is you had over 100 steals, 137 steals as a team. Like, you're well-rounded. You can attack offensively in a lot of different ways. Is this the most athletic team you've had?
It's definitely extremely athletic team. I mean, we had some really athletic teams here with, Lawton and Julie Rawls and Caitlin Alderink and Sarah Hudak and Kara Grimion and so on. There have been a lot of really talented athletes. I don't want to slide any of them, but this team is really athletic, and now you've got a team that I recruited from 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade, kids that I was able to go out and find and have the traits that I want, the balance that I want, and so it's a team that's built to play together. And I think that's the biggest difference. When you're going on the transfer portal and you're patching holes and you're patching leaks at the last second, you don't always have that perfect team that fits together athletic like a crossword puzzle or like a puzzle on a table. This team does. I recruited it. There's people with speed, there's people with size and power. There's people that slap, there's people that hit hard, there's right-handers, left-handers, there's balanced in a lot of ways. So I think it's the benefit of this team is it was handpicked to go together, and we were time and the recruiting circumstances allowed it. I can't hear.
Sounds like you got a lot of depth too, right? Is that accurate? Do you have a lot of depth here at the position battle there with the freshman class, with the veterans mixed in?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's 16 kids on our roster that are hitters, and I just met with them. We had our end of the year meeting. We went over all the fall averages, and I looked them in the eye, and I told them truth. I could see any of those 16 kids getting really hot in January, February, and starting. They were that good this fall, and it was that balanced. We have more balance and more depth than we've had at any point in our program since I've been here in 2018.
Wow. Talking about your pitching staff, Sam Landry, you mentioned 20 game winner last year. Megan Shorman had 17 wins. You had an ERA slightly over 2, pretty good. Talk about your pitching staff coming into this year, a year older, because I remember last year that was the big question, who's going to replace Summer and who's going to step into these roles. Well, they stepped in and then some.
Yeah, at the end of the fall last year you really didn't know what you saw because you had so many freshmen, that were coming in. You had Landry, you had Shorman, that was a transfer in from Kentucky, in the circle, and then you had Kendra Lamb and Carly Heath, who we knew. And just to show you, like, our fall batting average fall was around 360. Last year was 243. And so we've hit so much better this fall. Now, part of that's been due to Megan Shorman's been out with a foot injury, and Kendall Ann's been out with an ankle injury that she had an old injury that we decided to take care of after she got done with the Australian national team this summer. And both those kids are back throwing now, and they're going to be 100% in January. But they haven't thrown. But that's been really good because it's allowed us to really get Carly Heath in her circle, and she's had an outstanding fall, throwing the ball around 70 miles an hour, hitting 69 every day she pitches. Sam Landry up there now throwing 70, 71 in practice. And Shorman last year was consistently in that 68 mile an hour range, hit 70 a few times throughout the year. Kendra Lamb throws that ball up there 68 all the time and has got a little harder than that a few days. So we got 4 power pitchers, and then we got a really good freshman left-handed pitcher in Chloe Riaceto that has had a great fall for a freshman and gives us a different look from that left side with she can throw in the mid-60s, but she's got a really good off speed that she's working on and developing and knows how to pitch under pressure. She's been through all the big games with the Hot Shots Club team and, pitched in a lot of national championships over her career. And so she gives us experience that you don't normally see in a freshman, and that left-handed look to go along with the 4 righty. We just got depth. We got depth. Last year at catcher was a real problem. We only had 1 experienced catcher initially. We've got 3 kids that have caught throughout their travel ball careers and come in, and so we've got more depth there as well.
Deep staff, and then another year together with Justin, who was obviously you took over as the pitching coach last year. So that's going to be also, I would imagine, help the pitching staff, that familiarity with everybody involved.
It's huge. Justin Robichaud has been just a phenomenal asset to our program. He knew pitching. He knew how to throw balls and strikes and get people out. He knows how to use effective velocity. He knows how to mix pitches and pitching speeds with location. That's just universal baseball, softball. But now you really got a feel for, coaching female athlete, how to motivate them better. I think he's got more swagger, more confidence, more really confident in what he's doing. And then the girls just getting to know him last year, and him getting to know the players was all new to each other. Whereas this year there's familiarity from day one, and we had over 500 strikeouts last year in his first year. You think about that, guys never watched college softball that much, but he's been around college baseball his whole life. Of course, he was a star pitcher at Louisiana, went into the minor leagues. His brother went into the minor leagues. His dad was probably one of the top 4 or 5 pitching, come in and convert it over. And then we end up with over 500 strikeouts. And of course, the Ragin Cajun program is a really historic program with, 23 years in a row where they won 40 games, and, some tremendous pitchers in the past, with Kyla Hollis and Brooke Mitchell, and you can go on and on, Ashley Brizniak and Stephanie Lotief. And they're just over and over. There's historic great pitchers. And yet he was the 4th. He got 500 strikeouts out of his staff. That's only the 4th time in the history of our 30-something year program that we did that. And so that was pretty amazing to me that he was able to accomplish that in the first year. And this year he's just added so much. With pitchers, you're starting to see their off-speed stuff improve, their location improve. They understand what he means when he's talking about, pitching with control and controlling location and controlling the tempo and changing the pace of your pitches. It just everybody's in a really good place right now in our program, and he's going to be a star in he's a young up and coming pitcher coach that's going to be a star in our sport.
How do you feel about the defense? Because I know that's something you always focus on. It's always something that you always talk about that keeps you up as far as thinking about putting the right players in the right positions defensively to win your games. How do you feel about your defense this year going in?
Yeah, that's our challenge. That's our weakness. If you look at last year and we were, top 20 in pitching, top 20 in ERAs, top 20 in wins. All the pitching stats up there in that top 20 in the country. Our offensive stats, most of them are top 10 in the country. And then you go to defense and we're like 118. And so that's something that we've really got to, we've really put an emphasis on this fall. We've probably spent twice the amount of time on defense that we have it at any other year. Not it's and it's all around on defense. Like throwing out runners has been a huge challenge for us the last 2 or 3 years, and an area that we have to improve in if we're going to make that run in the postseason. So we put an enormous amount of effort into our defense, and yeah, I feel really good. I feel like we've really improved it, but I've got to see it on the field. It's got to be proven in the dirt this spring against top competition, and in that pressure of a real ball game versus a pressure practice. But it's definitely, if you're going to, you talk about our program and what you want to see us improve in to be able to make that next level. It's the defense, so we've got to grow in that area.
Yeah, that's the next step, right? That's in postseason. That kind of shows up too. Like, in clearing
Yep.
up there can make the difference here. A play or two there. You mentioned your schedule, challenging schedule. You're gonna open at home, and then you're gonna be spending a lot of time in Florida this year, which I like because I'm in Florida, in Orlando. Now you're gonna be in the Clearwater Invitation Tournament at ESPN Tournament there, the invitation. Let's talk about that one first. Being in that tournament for the first time, what does that mean for your program there? Because that's like become really the marquee tournament in the sport. It's going to have a lot of eyeballs with the games airing on the ESPN family of networks. I've been there, I've covered a couple of those. It's going to be a packed attendance. I would imagine a lot of Cajun fans will make that trip to Clearwater. What does that tournament mean for you?
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, I've wanted to be in it, and finally we got in it, and I'm going back as long as they let me come back. It's where you want your players to be. It's the environment that we need to get them into. When we play LSU home and away, we have great environments. When we played Texas last year, we had 27 people in our stands, 2,700 people in our stands for that game. We'll go over 3,000 when we got LSU here. But to be in that environment where you've got the great teams for sport, Florida State and UCLA and Michigan and Oklahoma State, and there's so many good teams going to be down there that it's going to be really good for our kids and make them realize where they're at, make them realize the importance of uh, knowing that they're one of the top teams in college softball, but they also have to be able to beat some of the top teams in college softball to ultimately have success. So and then the environment when you go to even like the Mary Nutter tournament has a great atmosphere, and when you're walking around through the crowd or when you're on the field and you hear the crowd and the buzz, and maybe it's another field and all of a sudden you hear the uproar and you realize somebody did something really special over on the other field. That's just a great environment to get in those tournaments like Clearwater. So it'll be my first time being there, so I'm really excited about it.
It's going to be pretty wild, and the competition is incredible. And then you're extending your stay in Florida. You're going to play UCF on a midweek in Orlando, which so I'll see you there. And then you've got that LSU, the crossover, which you and Beth have done a great job of promoting the last few years. Playing at each other's park and co-hosting tournaments there together. You're also going to be hosting Ole Miss. You're going to be playing at a Texas tournament in Austin later in the schedule there, and then you come back to Florida and play in a tournament hosted by Florida, Coach. That is a pretty challenging schedule, and like I said, you must like the sunshine in Florida.
Yeah, well, it's important. We've got a team that I think is extremely talented. I think we got the athleticism to be, one of the elite teams in college softball. But you have to go out and lose some games to those kind of teams to learn how to get to be those kind of teams. And then if you can, if you can win a few of those games with a young team early in the year and continue to work hard and improve, it's nothing but it's just nothing but positive for a program. So we want to schedule. We want to play the best, and you have to be smart about how you schedule. You can't overload your kids, and I might have this year, but I've got that much belief in what we're doing and the kids that we have in our program. We're going to lose some games. I know that. We're not worried about that because every time we lose, we're going to learn a whole lot more than we, would have if we'd won another game. So losing teaches you so much, and you learn about yourself and you learn about your players. It's going to be fun. And Texas, we played last year 3 times. That Coach White is just He's been really a great neighboring school over there to play us. Glenn Moore at Baylor's, we got them on the schedule. He's helped me out ever since I've been here by playing us, and he's just a class guy. And then we've added Texas A&M. We're getting to go to Texas A&M this year, so that we've got the schedule up and down. I'm excited. Coach Malone and what she's done at Central Florida is amazing. Another mid-major like us, and that's going to be a really good battle. I'm going over there this year first, and I'm hoping she'll come back to us in the future. And then likewise with A&M, I'm going to A&M with Trish Ford, a great coach, had great success everywhere she's been, and hoping to get that work together relationship like we've been able to develop with Coach Beth at LSU and Coach Mike over at Texas and Glenn at Baylor. So that's the purpose of our schedule.
Hey, it's an exciting schedule, and there'll be a lot of great softball there. Then the Sun Belt this year, you've got new members you're going to get familiar with.
Yeah.
JMU is in the league, Marshall, Southern Miss. What's your reaction to the new look Sun Belt? And, of course, you're hosting the conference tournament this year.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. JMU's got such a great history. Marshall's been really good for a lot of years, and they're that team that puts up a good record. And the number of good teams they've had, they haven't always got into that NCAA tournament, but they always have a really good record, and they had a good record again last year. So those are great additions to our conference. Southern Miss has a lot of history. They've been a World Series team when Coach Lou had them back in the day, and they're going through kind of a downtime in their program right now, but new coaching staff in there, and you just hope that they can turn that corner. Being in the Sun Belt is going to be good. I think our conference is one of the most underrated mid-major conferences. I feel like we're really right there. I mean, I think it's a really strong softball conference when you have Troy, Texas State, phenomenal program coached by Coach Woodward. She's just a great coach, Coach Ricky, and then South Alabama every year. They're just a well-coached team. Coach Clark does a great job over there. So you put in those three programs on top of what we already have. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people look forward to a JMU, UL matchup. I mean, it's like a
Yeah.
dream matchup when that takes place there. And you're hosting the conference tournament. What does it mean to be the host?
It means we don't have to travel, which is huge. And especially the week before the regional, you like that. I like the idea of being at home, the kids getting some rest that week, and being able to compete on their own field in front of their fans. And once we found out we were able to get that conference tournament, we were able to schedule a couple more road games than what we normally would have, because we know our crowd's going to get to see a lot of good softball right down that stretch at the end. So that was a huge break for us when we were able to get the conference tournament this year, as in the fact that it allowed us to toughen up that preseason schedule and make another road trip, knowing our fans would get to see 3 or 4 games at the end of the season that they normally wouldn't if we had to travel. But I hope we have enough. The reason I made my schedule so tough, I want to have my RPI. I want it to be. I tried to match our preseason schedule to make our schedule equivalent to an SEC type schedule, RPI wise, and I think we did a really good job of that. The season will have to play out before we know how good, but it's going to be good. And I hope that we go into that conference tournament not having to win it to get into the NCAA tournament. Last year, I felt like we had to win that conference tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. That's the first time I'd coached like that, and so I want to avoid that feeling and that moment by taking care of business in the regular season, and we can really enjoy that conference tournament on our field in front of our fans.
What's the behind the scenes like preparing for a conference tournament? How involved are you on the behind the scenes as far as all the logistics, as far as when it comes to hosting a conference tournament? Are you involved? Do you let other people do that? Like, what's that like?
Yeah, no, we hosted it my first year here in 2018, and I don't remember spending a lot of time. We had a great administration. Of course, Dr. Leger is our deputy athletic director over softball and on the NCAA committee this year. She loves softball. She played softball at Louisiana. She's really sharp, and she's an educator that she's just a brilliant young mind in administration. So she takes a lot of pressure off me. Of course, the last thing she wants me doing at that point in the season is worrying about something like getting the field ready or chalking lines. She wants me coaching and thinking about our athletes. And so I I don't think that it's going to add a whole lot of stress to me personally. I think that just the demand, there'll be some time demand. We're dealing with a press, a little more press, a little bit more fan interaction that you're going to do with your local fans versus being on the road at a tournament like at Texas State or South Alabama the last couple of years. But as far as working on the field or direct tournament, Sun Belt and our administration is phenomenal. They'll take care of all that.
A couple topics. Instant replay. Where's the Sun Belt as far as instant replay is concerned? And what's your thoughts on instant replay? Because now it's obviously throughout the NCAA tournament and more schools are using instant replay. What's been your thoughts on replay in the game?
It's the best thing ever happened to our sport. It's needed. It's it's the benefits are huge. It makes the when you add instant replay, it puts the umpires and the coaching staffs on the same page. Everybody's looking for the right call. You work together to get that right call. And when you don't have instant replay, it becomes more adversarial because there's no correcting a mistake. Nobody wants to make a mistake, but there's nothing you can do about it once it's made. So it can be an adversarial relationship. But the minute you have instant replay, it's like, hey, check that on film. Let's be sure we got it right. And 90% of the time, the camera angles will show. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they don't allow you to correct the mistake. But 90% of the time, they will. And at Clemson last year, we appealed 4 calls, got 4 calls overturned. We had none against us. And I think that, for the home team in a regional tournament, maybe it's not as necessary because I think most of the calls tend to go towards the home crowd and the loud crowd. Not to do with the team, has to do with the environment and the crowd. But when you're on the road in a regional, there's no doubt, and that's everybody but one school, correct? I mean, it's the majority of the teams are affected in a very positive way by instant replay. So I think it's great. I think it's great for our sport. I think it's great for our athletes. I think it's really good for the umpires. They don't have they can understand I can make the call, and if it's not right, we'll correct it. And it takes some pressure off of them. And it's just really a whole different atmosphere between the relationship between coaching and umpires when you have instant replay.
Is the Sun Belt using it for regular season games, or is it just conference?
We will this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we did. We did it in a conference tournament last year, and this year we're able to use it. We are using it in the conference games.
Well, that's huge because that gets you all coaches familiar with it and more used to it. The last thing you want to do is just test it out in the postseason. You're a good friend and former player you coached. Lori Trout found out the hard way. The Big Ten tournament was the first time they used instant replay, and she got ejected because of a miscommunication about an explanation on replay. Those are kinks that you kind of have to work out, and you do once you get more used to it. And having them in conference games in particular, I think is a great step. So I'm happy to hear that the Sun Belt has taken that step.
Yeah, it's necessary. And it's if you think about the Little League World Series has it. If they're doing it in 12 and under Little League World Series, how can we not do it in NCAA softball? And we did. We've got it done now. There's no need to. Just pat everybody on the back because they got it done. Thank goodness. And it was huge last year. It made the tournament a much better, much more enjoyable, much more successful all the way through.
Vote that's coming down in January is about the full-time assistant job added for baseball and softball with the volunteer turning full-time and all that. What's your reaction to that? Really, a lot of coaches are excited. It's been something that it's no secret. It's been talked about for a few years, especially with baseball and softball adding that full-time coach to the staff. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's going to offer opportunity for young coaches to get in our sport. It's going to offer more positions. It's going to offer opportunity for people to specialize, and you'll see a lot of movement. I can see, head coaches leaving the programs going to be an assistant, and I can see that SEC and the big time conferences. I don't think they're just going to add, a grad assistant maker or a paid coach. I think they're going to go out. You're going to see the most competitive softball programs go out and get the top coach in the country and add to their staff in a way that we've never seen it used before. So I think it's great. I think it's really good for our sport. It may cause a little bit of disparity, to come back into our sport, because I definitely think the rule can be more beneficial to a program with a lot of money, or you could say to a program that really has a desire to be great in our sport. And so, you know, there'll be people that don't like it for justifiable reasons. There'll be people that do like it for justifiable reasons. Um, and I think as a whole, mid majors will and lower D1s will realize that it may not be good for parity, but at the same time, it's great for our sport and great for our athletes to have more coaches. Great for young athletes that want to get involved in coaching. So I think it's a good thing by far overall.
And it gives opportunities to guys, and you know this. I mean, guys that the people that are coaches that are doing volunteer work, that part time have to find other work to make money and make a living, and other people that maybe could get now an opportunity. You got an opportunity way back. You've talked to me about with Lou giving you an opportunity. Now there's more opportunities that could come for other people to get involved in the sport and help out the student athletes.
Yeah, I mean, to have a career, someone's got to give you that first job and that first opportunity, and it's very limited. When you only have two assistants in the 13 SEC program, now you can have 39. And those extra 13 jobs, so you're going up 33% in your assistant jobs in the SEC alone, 13 jobs. Those will be high paying jobs. Those will be. I don't think those are going to be low paying jobs. I think those will be jobs that coaches use in a creative way to really improve and impact their program. And I expect the same out of the Big 12 and the Pac-12, and the Big 10 should follow suit. So and then that's going to force schools like us, Central Florida, that want to play with the big boys. We want to play with them. We're going to have to be creative, and we may not have that same amount of money, but we've got to make just as important impact on our program to stay even. And so that's going to force us to be creative in our thought process, and that's all good. That's everything about that is a really positive thing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Last couple things before we let you go. Volleyball and soccer this year is seeding 32 teams in an experimental way. They're seeding 32 teams, 1 through 8, through 4 regions. The reason they're doing that is to try to create more balance, which means 2 seeds, for example, in volleyball, instead of being bus 400 miles, they have to be seeded, could go a lot of places. I know there's been some chatter on softball and baseball. They're monitoring this to see how it goes, and is that something that would interest you as far as maybe softball going in that direction? Because you've been the victim of this, where it seems like you're sent to LSU. Now, last year was unique because you got sent to Clemson, but for the most part, usually you've gone to LSU or you've gone bus trips. Now, maybe that true seeding would create more interesting matchups and more parity. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you know what? I haven't heard enough or studied enough to really comment. I think I would be wasting people's time, because I don't like to comment if I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about. And I don't know yet. I mean, anything you do to seed something and make it more um, not maybe more balanced, but to make it more the tournament flow to where the best teams advance more often. That sounds good, but I just haven't studied that or heard enough about it to really add anything to it.
Yeah, a lot of people are still studying it too. I think it's something that could become a story within the next year or two on that.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be the keys? I'll let you go with this. What's going to be the keys as you get before you get to February, the season will get going, and everything. What's going to be key for this group to accomplish your internal goals?
Improve our defense, and I'm talking about fielding percentage. Our catchers have to get better and accept that challenge of throwing people out more often. Um, and then pitch and repeat the performances of last year as best they can with a much tougher schedule. And then offensively, we're not going to hit 350 against the schedule we've got. It's a phenomenal schedule. But if we can stay in that over 300 to end of the year, if we're hitting over 300 to end of the year, we keep our home run totals up there in that 60 and above mark. And I'd like to repeat that and get 80 like we did last year. But if we stay in the top 10 in scoring, if we can play the schedule we're going to play and stay in that top 10 in scoring, it can be a really special year for us.
Yeah, and it's going to be really exciting to see your team there. And then uh, for the WPF, as they go into year two, you talked about the growth in the league. What's the key for them success? Because you've been around it, the pro game. What's the key ingredient to having success? Is it just patience and growth, and certainly the financial support backing? Is that what's the key for that league for continue to have success in the growth?
I think the key for the WPF is for the ownership groups to all have a common vision and to work together, and not, to promote the sport more than they're trying to win a national championship. I mean, win a world championship, or what do they call it? The tournament title. Somebody just rung my doorbell. But that's the key to the whole thing, is everybody having a common vision.
Yeah, that's the key vision. Well, we're gonna let you go because the bell rang, literally, Coach.
Hey,
Always appreciate you coming on the show, Coach. Thanks for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you in Florida when you guys get down here.
all right. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate the opportunity to tell about it and share about our program.